Hey, what's up everyone? Dragon here, and on this writing tips video, we're going to talk about something that no one likes, and I suspect is what holds up quite a few of you from actually pursuing some of your creative interests, and that is, of course, criticism. Particularly negative criticism, which I guess that's really the only kind of criticism you can really have, constructive or non. But yeah, so in other words, no one likes being critiqued, despite what some people say, like, well, I enjoy it. At the end of the day, even if you're able to take constructive criticism and work with it and really utilize it to help your work, at the end of the day, you'd much rather hear someone say, I love what you did, as opposed to constructively criticizing you. But yeah, that's and this obviously crosses over every artistic medium. It doesn't matter where you're doing literature, comic books, animation, movies, music. No matter how much of yourself you put into your art, no matter how hard you work on it, no matter how long you work on it, there's always going to be someone out there who says it sucks and that's it. And there's nothing you can do to change their mind. And if you try to change it to kind of gear it more towards their sensibilities and what they like, then the people who liked it before aren't going to like it, and vice versa. So it's kind of a never-ending battle. So how do you deal with criticism? Well, there's nothing you can really do to make yourself just like it. I mean, I guess unless you're a complete masochist, I suppose. But if you're like me, obviously when someone has something less than kind to say about your work, you get that feeling of like, ugh, or like, ah, it's like, it's never a great feeling. But at the same time, it kind of goes with the territory. It's just a part of it. And unfortunately, there's no getting around it. There's always going to be that person who just doesn't like what you do for whatever reason. With that said, with my work, and this will be, I guess, a bit of a shameless plug, so I apologize. But when I, wrote my book, Born of Fire, The Dawn of Legend, uh, in the back of my mind, I knew that while I was passionate about it, while I was putting kind of my all into it, I mean, the book is essentially kind of a cross section of me as a person. The settings and situations might be fantastical, but the nature of the characters within it are kind of pieces of me, and I put a lot of myself into that. And without getting too kind of corny and hokey and artsy fartsy, it was a bit of a therapeutic process for me. With that said, that will mean absolutely nothing to a lot of people. And despite that, there will be someone who sees that and go, well, I don't care. I think it's dumb. And that's it. That's all there is to it. And there's nothing you can say to convince that person otherwise. At the end of the day, no matter how hard you work on something, there's going to come a point where you have to put it out there, and it becomes at the mercy of the consumer. All you can do is hope that the majority of people like it, but you can't expect everyone to like it, and you can't expect everyone who doesn't like it to keep their opinions to themselves, no matter how much you would want to, no matter how much you would if you were in the same position. I'm one of those individuals where if I come across something I don't like, regardless of what kind of medium it's in, I don't feel the need to tell that person. It's one of the reasons why on this channel you don't see like a lot of reviews. I mean, we'll discuss things that we like, so I guess we do reviews to some degree, but I never talk about something I really don't like. I might use something I'm not particularly fond of as an example in some of the podcasts that we do, but as a whole, I'm not going to review something and say I didn't like this and here's why, even though there's no shortage of things out there that I don't like. But for me, I feel, okay, well, I can go on and on about why I think something is terrible, why it was either poorly directed, poorly produced, poorly drawn, poorly animated. And then, those same people can then just turn around and pick up my book and be like, well, I think this book is poorly written. I think these characters are poorly developed, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm aware of that, I better be willing to kind of put my money where my mouth is if I'm going to kind of talk negatively about somebody else's art, even if I think it's justified. For me, I'm like, all right, I could use that time to criticize something I don't like, or I can use that time to kind of inform you guys about something that I think is really cool, something that I think you might enjoy too. So we do reviews to a degree on this channel, but they're kind of non-traditional. It's one of the reasons why I don't give like, oh, this is a 4-star, or this is a 5 out of 10. I don't there's no shortage of people on YouTube who do that, and I'm not discounting them or criticizing them, considering how I subscribe to a good number of them, so I'd be a bit hypocritical myself. And a lot of times their reviews and critiques are well informed and I think really kind of thought out and much better, I think, than a lot of the mainstream kind of critics. And that's fine, it works for them. But for me personally, because I have something of myself out there as a creative person, yes, I can criticize somebody else's work, but a lot of times, even something that I myself am not particularly crazy over, that person who made it or that group of people tried their best. They put their all into it, and there's usually no shortage of people who don't necessarily like it. Like there's a lot of people who like something that I necessarily don't. In my household, I'm usually kind of famous now for not liking something that a lot of people tend to, and I've never been one of those people who want to go against the grain just for the sake of it, but it kind of seems that way now because whenever something is really popular, I'm always the one who checks it out and thinks, nah, I don't know, I don't get the hype, and vice versa. I'll find something amazing that nobody else seems to care about. So, and I understand that, and if there's something that you like that other people don't like, don't worry about it, and if understand that going back to you producing a form of art of yourself. Just like there's always going to be somebody who doesn't like it, there's also going to be people who do like it, and you can't worry about catering to a specific group of people or a specific market. You have to create art that is kind of that resonates with you, something that you would want to watch, want to listen, want to read, something that makes you happy, and put it out there. And people who are of like mind will find it. They'll gravitate towards it, and they'll like it. And the people who don't like it aren't going to like it. And it doesn't matter that you wrote it or played it or recorded it or filmed it. It could have been somebody else who did it. And because those people just don't like that thing, they're not going to like it. So it's not a personal attack against you. And I think that's important. Whereas I think when a lot of people get negative criticism, people take it personally. And it's very easy to take it personally. And when I first got my first negative review, I'm not going to lie, my first, feeling was like, it was like, how dare you? And that's natural. But then I quickly just let that go and realized that, okay, this person took the time to write 3 or 4 paragraphs describing why my book was just the worst thing ever, one of the worst things he's ever read. Yet he felt the time to take enough time out of his or her own life to write 3 or 4 paragraphs, where most of the people who wrote good reviews wrote maybe a sentence or two, and that was about it. And then that's the point. Most people are just like, okay, this is good, on to the next thing. And there are a lot of people who don't even bother commenting or leaving a review or critique at all. They'll read something, they'll watch something, and they move on to the next thing, regardless of whether they thought it was great, okay, or terrible. So don't get caught up in the negativity, even though that is what tends to stand out. Dealing with criticism is one of those things where it's just something you're going to have to deal with. And if you really find that you can't deal with it, then maybe being on that side of the creative line isn't for you. And I say that not trying to dissuade any of you, because, by all means, if you have a great story to tell, tell it. If you have great artwork or artwork that you're passionate about, show it. If you're a musician and you want your music out there, you want people to hear your music, play it, record it, get it out there. But if really the toll that a negative comment, in a comment section can cause you so, overwhelming, then maybe the bad outweighs the good for you. But I suspect for a good number of you, the majority, it's like anything else. If you're really passionate about something, you'll stick it out. You'll bear through it, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be someone who doesn't like you, doesn't like your work, just doesn't like what you're all about. And you could sit there, you could lock yourself in a room with them and explain to them why you did what you did, why you did it the way you did it, what it means to you, your level of passion for it, and they'll just look at you and say they don't care, they don't like it. And that's just the way it is. So don't try to placate to them. Don't try to change your art just to appease them, because by doing so, you'll now be changing it. So while maybe they might like it, now another group of people who would have liked it before don't like it. But at the same time, then you're not really being true to yourself. And, again, this is always the issue with art. Yes, art can be a business. Yes, art, in an ideal world, you want to make money off of it. But it's still a creative outlet. It's still something of yourself that you're putting out there. So at the end of the day, as long as it's you, as long as what you're putting out there is something of yourself, you're going to still feel good about it. I mean, you're not going to feel good when someone says something bad about it, but you're going to stick by. You're going to stand by it because you're like, you know what? I made this because I believe in it, and I'm not going to let someone, convince me otherwise. And I think at the end of the day, that's usually the prevailing thought. It is for me. I mean, like I said, when I saw that horrible review, I wasn't happy about it, but at the same time, I didn't feel the need to go back and revisit my work and try to do a revised version of it and try to fix this or fix that. This individual had their opinions. They thought what they thought, they felt what they felt, and they felt that, certain creative choices I made negatively impacted the story. And I had reviews also of people said they loved it for those exact same reasons, which means if I would have changed it, sure, that one individual might have loved the book, and a number of other people would have then hated it. So you just have to realize that there's always going to be someone who likes it, there's always going to be someone who hates it. It's just the way it goes. That's art. And again, that is something that is true of all forms of art. I'm talking about a book in this case. You could be a painter, you could be a sequential artist, you could be a filmmaker, you could be a musician, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And for those of you who are interested in, for the first time expressing something of yourself artistically, whether you want to start a band, you want to make music, you want to write a book, you want to work on a comic book, you want to do animation, whatever, but you're afraid of what if nobody likes it? Well, statistically, someone's going to like it. I mean, there are films out there that make over $1 billion that whenever I talk to people, they talk about how much they hate them, or I watch reviews of them online and people just destroy them, and yet people are still buying tickets and going to see these movies. And the people behind these movies aren't losing any sleep over the negative reviews, because for every one person who goes on the internet and, waves, a pitchfork, talking about how terrible this thing is, there's like 100 others buying their ticket and going to the movies. You just have to just roll with it. It's just the way it is. I know this particular video seems a bit more informal than the others, but dealing with criticism is one of those things where there's no science to it. There's no art to the art. It's just one of those things where it's going to happen. And if you're letting that stop you, then you have to just give up. I mean, there's nothing you can do creatively that will appeal to everyone. And the starving artist, all the way up to the big shot, multi-million-dollar producer will tell you the same thing. Demographics, markets, all that kind of stuff that you always hear about. They're always trying to get as many people appeal, the wider audience. There's things you can do that maybe appeal to a certain amount of people, and if doing so, if you can do so without sacrificing your artistic vision, then great. But at the end of the day, it has to still be your artistic vision. If you put out something that a lot of people respond well to, but you sacrifice a lot of yourself, you sacrifice a lot of what you wanted to do, yes, it's good to have success, and yes, it's good to get accolades, but you will never be truly happy with it. You will always feel a sense of, incompletion with it, because it's not your thing. Whereas on the flip side, yeah, maybe not a lot of people are responding well to it, but when you look at it, when you listen to it, when you watch it, it's you. It's what you wanted to create. It's what you wanted to put out there. And as long as it's that, there will always be a part of yourself that is proud, no matter what somebody else is saying about it. So, dealing with criticism, you just have to deal with it. It's just the way it is. There's nothing I can say that's going to really make you feel better about it, unless, who knows, maybe this video did just that. So if so, you're welcome. I'm happy to help. But realistically speaking, I can be telling you something right now that you've already heard, that you already know, that you're nodding your head and agreeing with, and then you check your comment section and you'll see, or review section, and you'll see something negative, and it'll still get you there. And there's some of you who probably just don't give a damn either. And to be fair, you're the lucky ones. You're the ones where it's just, you don't care, whatever, say something bad, say something good. I accomplished my goal. I wanted this thing out there, and I did it. So, and also remember too, some of you out there who are really, really sensitive to this kind of thing, remember this: it's very, very easy to critique. It's very easy to say, I didn't like this. Here's the laundry list of reasons why. Or on the flip side, I love this, and this is all the reasons why. All that is very easy to do. What's not easy to do is to create something that comes from you, and then put it out there. Because when you put it out there, you are exposing yourself to the possibility of that person who wants to write 3 or 4 paragraphs telling you why you wasted all your time. And that takes courage. That takes guts. It's not easy because it's a scary prospect when you think about that. It's kind of like, in a weird way, standing naked in a room full of people. You could have all the confidence in the world of your body. You could have the best gym body in the world. Stand naked in front of people. You get nervous. You get embarrassed. You get scared. What if people point and laugh? And it's kind of like that. No matter how proud you are of it, it's still going to be daunting. So, but understand that person who is bashing your work, at the end of the day, and I'm not encouraging you to go and engage in a lengthy debate back and forth because, there's no shortage of those kind of conversations on the internet. Someone says something bad, you defend yourself, and it just turns to he said, she said. It's like, whatever, listen, let them have their piece. Because more than likely, that comment, those critiques, those negative reviews, is the only thing of themselves they will ever put out there. Not because they can't do anything, but because they don't have the guts to write a book, make a comic, make an album, make a movie. Not because they can. For all we know, the greatest filmmaker of all time will be the person who never makes a film because they're too afraid. But they'll be more than happy to, bash another film. And some of these people, could be very creative, talented people. The guy who tore me a new one, he might have been able to write this book better than I ever could. I mean, I've never pretended to think that I'm the best writer in the world, nor was I the most qualified to write the story that I did. I simply did it because nobody else had. And it's a story that I thought deserved to exist. So I wrote it. But not saying that, hey, somebody else could have done a better job. Maybe that person could write an amazing book, but they're not. And instead they're writing reviews and critiques. Maybe somebody could make a fantastic record. They're not, but they'll talk a lot of smack about somebody else's. And that's the thing. A lot of people who have talent, who have creativity, don't do anything with it because they're scared. Because it is a scary prospect. It's fun while you're creating. It's fun when you're coming up with ideas. I've always said the idea stage of any kind of creative project is the best. It's the most fun because it's like, wow, we could do this, I could do that. And then when you start putting it together and you seeing it coming together, it's even more exciting because, wow, it's really happening. It's really coming together. But when you put it out there, all that joy and excitement becomes fear because, it's really happening. It's really going out there. What if nobody else likes it? What if nobody else feels about it the same way that I do? Everyone goes through it. I was in a band once, couple bands, but one of them, one time we played a live show, and I was so scared before we hit the stage and performed. Then the show went great. The crowd responded very well to us. Doesn't change the fact that I was scared. I was proud of the music we made, and I was proud of what we had created, and I was proud of the guys next to me on stage, who were playing with me, but still, you're scared because what if you're the only ones in the room who think that way? So it's always going to be that way. So if I can leave you with anything, truly, don't let it stop you. Don't, because while that negative criticism, sucked, I also received another review of, it wasn't a long review, it wasn't like very eloquent or anything like that, but it was someone who commented favorably on the book and pointed out something in the book that I had made a point of creating. And I created it in for the reason of I wanted something for the reader to connect with that could kind of bind anyone from anywhere who read this book together. You guys could all come together on this particular element of the story. And this person got that, and they responded to that, and they, felt really, they really liked that element of the story. And I was like, great, here's someone who gets it. This other person read the same book, didn't get it. This person did, and that made it worth it. Negative comments are kind of like fast food. You eat it, it fills you up for a time, you think you enjoy it, but then it's kind of over and done with. It's not memorable. You eat a nice home-cooked meal, and that stays with you. It's not just eating it, it creates a positive memory. It's so, and that one comment can, outshine 5 or 6 negative ones, because there's someone out there now who's a little bit happier for having read, watched, or listened to something you created. Their life is just maybe a little bit better now because of something you did, because of something you put into the world. And that's the thing to remember. So don't let it stop you. If you haven't done anything yet because you're just afraid, just do it. Don't be afraid, because you're not the only one. Everyone is afraid. Even people who are more established now, when they still put out something new, it's, what if it's not as good as the last thing I did? What if I'll never, have another hit? What if I'm a one-hit wonder? Everyone goes through it. And if you have created something and you're just sitting on it because you're like, okay, I have it, I like it, it's what I want, but what if it's not what anybody else wants? There's, I don't know, how many billion people in the world now? Statistically, there's going to be at least a good number of people who like it, who want it. So don't worry about it. What matters most is that you stand by it and you sell it. Because if people see that you believe in it, people see that you're passionate about it, people will respond to that. They'll be like, well, you know what? This guy seems to really give a damn about it. I'll try it out. But if they see that you're not even defending it, if they see that you're not even standing behind it, you don't feel strongly about it, then they're going to question it too. If they're going to think to themselves, well, I liked it when I checked it out, but maybe it wasn't that good after all. Oh, well, I'll move on to something else. So just don't give up before you start. And if you've already started, keep going. Don't let negativity stop you, because it's pointless. Negativity is all around us. It's just inevitable. So be true to yourself. Be true to your art, and don't sweat the small stuff, because all that other stuff really is just small stuff. So with that said, that's how I deal with negative feedback, negative criticism, or criticism of any kind, even positive criticism. It's still criticism. It sucks less than the people who are telling you that you suck, but it's still not going to be enjoyable. But you know what? You take it for what it is, and you just keep moving forward. And that's all you can do. So anyway, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Keep checking into the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video. Share it around. Let people know. And see what other people think. Talk to other people too. Ask other people, hey, other people who created stuff, who create art. How do you deal with art? Are you scared? How did you get over that kind of fear? And talk to people. And I think you'll find that most of what they'll tell you is pretty similar. And probably what they were feeling was pretty similar to what you might be feeling. So thanks for listening, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace!